The city of Arathis glimmered under twin suns, a metropolis of steel towers and bright holographic lights. Ships from distant colonies hovered in the sky, their engines humming like distant thunder. Citizens moved through the streets, their steps quick and purposeful, while merchants shouted the latest inventions or exotic foods. But in the heart of the city, the royal palace stood tall, an elegant blend of crystal and metal, gleaming like a beacon of power. Today, the palace was alive with excitement. Kyle walked through the grand hall of the palace, his boots echoing on the polished floors. He was not like the usual guests. Dressed in simple, practical clothes, he carried no decorations, no family titles, no political favors. But Kale had something else, something far more dangerous: skill, intelligence, and confidence that could rival the best warriors in the galaxy. The royal tournament was underway, a tradition stretching back centuries. It was a test of strength, speed, and skill. This year, it wasn't just humans competing. Aliens from neighboring systems had come to demonstrate their powers, and the royal court watched closely. Everyone wanted to see who would win the favor of the king and the royal family. Kyle's name had drawn curious looks. Few knew much about him, only that he was a tactician and a pilot, someone who often solved problems in ways no one expected. He had been invited to demonstrate his combat skills in a sparring match. Nothing official, just a friendly show. The arena was enormous, a circular platform surrounded by high seats filled with spectators. Kale stepped onto the platform, feeling the eyes of thousands upon him. Across from him stood General Varek, the Royal Guard commander. Varek was an imposing figure, taller than most humans, with muscles honed by decades of training. His eyes, a golden amber, scanned Kyle with a mixture of curiosity and irritation. The moment felt tense. Kyle knew that challenging Varek, even unintentionally, could be dangerous. The general was known for his pride, and yet Kyle's calm demeanor seemed to make the crowd quiet. Some whispered, "Who is this human? He doesn't look scared at all." The demonstration began. Kyle's opponent for the first round was a young alien from the eastern colonies, quick but inexperienced. Kyle dodged and moved with precision, using the arena's surface to his advantage. He wasn't the strongest, but his mind worked faster than most. The alien lunged with claws extended, but Kale sidestepped, causing the alien to stumble. With a swift, careful move, Kale disarmed his opponent without causing harm. The crowd murmured. Humans rarely fought in the tournament. They were clever, yes, but they were usually weaker physically than many alien species. Kale's performance was subtle yet perfect. Then came the next part of the demonstration. Varek entered the arena for a ceremonial bow. Kale returned it politely, but when Kale performed a small maneuver, adjusting his stance in a way the general thought improper, Varek's eyes narrowed. "You dare to move like that in my presence?" Varek's voice boomed across the arena, causing some spectators to flinch. His tone was sharp, proud, and commanding. "Do you think you can show me disrespect and still walk away?" Kale remained calm. He did not bow lower or apologize. Instead, he met Varek's gaze evenly. "I mean, no disrespect," Kale said. His voice was quiet but steady. "I fight as I must," the crowd gasped. No one had ever spoken to General Varek in that way. Even nobles and royalty trembled in his presence. Varek's pride flared like a storm. "You will face me in a duel," Varek declared. "Tomorrow, in this arena. You will answer for your audacity." Whispers rippled through the audience. "No human could survive that duel," someone muttered. Another whispered, "He's already doomed." Kyle tilted his head slightly, not in fear, but in thought. The duel was dangerous, yes, but it was also an opportunity. An opportunity to show that humans were clever, adaptable, and unpredictable. "I accept," Kyle said simply. The words hung in the air. Silence followed, broken only by the soft hum of the arena lights. People blinked, unsure if they heard correctly. The king, seated above the arena in a throne of crystal and steel, raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Did he just—" someone whispered. "Yes," another replied. "He accepted—" Varek's eyes burned with a mix of shock and fury. "You dare to accept my challenge? You are a human, untested against my skill. You will regret this." Kyle smiled faintly, not arrogantly, but with quiet confidence. He had prepared for challenges his whole life. He had trained, studied opponents, and learned to adapt. He knew that strength alone was not enough in a duel. Strategy, intelligence, and the ability to think differently could overcome almost anything. The crowd began to murmur excitedly. A human daring to challenge the Royal Guard commander? Some cheered secretly, admiring Kale's courage. Others shook their heads, fearing the outcome. Children in the stands clutched their parents' hands, their eyes wide with wonder. Varek turned sharply and left the arena, his golden eyes still burning with anger. Kyle remained standing, calm and focused, already thinking of the duel. He knew tomorrow would not be easy. The Royal Guard commander was formidable, perhaps the best fighter in the galaxy. But Kyle also knew one truth. Humans were not the strongest, but they were clever, adaptable, and unpredictable. As Kale left the arena, he walked through the corridors of the palace, unnoticed by most, but watched closely by a few who sensed something extraordinary about him. His mind raced with ideas, strategies, and possibilities. Every detail of the arena, every possible trap, every advantage he could use, he memorized. By nightfall, the city was alive with speculation. Newspapers, holoscreens, and public forums buzzed with debate. Could a human really face General Varek and survive? Could Kale do the impossible? Kale sat quietly in his small quarters, examining his weapons and armor. He did not worry about the outcome, only about preparation. In his heart, he knew that the duel was not just about proving skill. It was about showing that humans, even outsiders like him, could rise to the greatest challenges and earn respect in a galaxy that often underestimated them. Tomorrow, he would step into the arena. Tomorrow, the Royal Guard commander would learn that intelligence, strategy, and courage were just as powerful as brute strength. And tomorrow, Kale would show that humans were never to be underestimated. The city slept beneath the twin suns, unaware that a duel was coming that could change how humans were seen forever. Kale closed his eyes for a brief moment, taking a deep breath. He was ready. The duel had been issued. He had accepted. And now, everything depended on what came next. The morning sun broke over the city of Arathis, bathing the towers in gold. The palace was quieter now, but whispers of Kyle's acceptance of the duel spread like wildfire. Every corner of the city had someone talking about it. Citizens debated whether a human could ever defeat General Varek, the Royal Guard commander, whose strength and skill were legendary. Kyle, however, did not concern himself with gossip. He was already deep in preparation. His small workshop sat on the edge of the city, filled with tools, machines, and holographic maps. To outsiders, it might have looked chaotic, but to Kale, every device had a purpose. He began by analyzing Varek. The general's movements, strategies, and past duels were recorded in hollow libraries. Kale studied every detail, noting patterns. Varek relied heavily on brute force and intimidation, but Kale noticed subtle weaknesses. In high-pressure situations, the general could be impatient and predictable. Kale smiled quietly to himself. Knowledge was power, and he had plenty. Kale's first companion in this preparation was Nira, a human engineer and old friend. She worked, tirelessly, adjusting Kale's armor and weapons. "Your armor must be flexible, not just strong," she explained, tightening plates around his shoulders. "Varek hits hard, but he underestimates speed. You'll need to move faster than his." "Strikes," Kale nodded, testing the armor's weight. It was light, yet durable. designed to absorb shock and allow agile movements. He checked the energy blade strapped to his side, a tool he had modified to respond instantly to his hand's motion. Precision would matter more than force. Next, Kale turned to Axel, a fellow human warrior. Axel was skilled in hand-to-hand combat, quick on his feet and sharp with strategy. Together, they practiced maneuvers in the empty training room. Kale simulated Varek's attacks, forcing himself to adapt mid-fight. Every dodge, every strike was calculated. Kale's body moved with a rhythm that was both instinctive and precise. "I've studied him," Kale said during a break, wiping sweat from his brow. "He's strong, confident, and slightly predictable. If I force him to react instead of act, I can control the duel." Axel raised an eyebrow. "That's risky. You'll have to stay alert the whole time." "I know," Kale replied calmly. "But humans are good at thinking differently. We see opportunities where others see only obstacles." Kale's final assistant was EVA, an artificial intelligence housed in a small orb that floated beside him. EVA monitored data from the palace arena, calculated possible outcomes, and suggested tactics. "Kyle," she said in her calm, even voice, "Varek's reaction time is faster than average, but he relies on patterns. Introducing an unpredictable variable increases your chance of success by 34%. Kyle smiled faintly. "Then we will be unpredictable." Hours turned into days. Kale trained relentlessly, learning every corner of the arena by studying virtual simulations. He imagined the crowd, the lights, even the weather conditions in the dome. He analyzed how the general might use the arena itself, walls, platforms, and holographic traps. Every possible scenario was considered. Meanwhile, the palace buzzed with anticipation. Courtiers whispered about the human challenger, while Varek trained with intensity, confident that he would crush Kale. The Royal Guard commander had never lost a duel in his life. He was strong, skilled, and arrogant. The idea that a human could outthink him seemed laughable, but Kale was not ordinary. He believed in strategy over strength, precision over power, and intelligence over intimidation. Humans, in his view, thrived when others underestimated them. And that would be his greatest weapon. One evening, Kyle walked through the city, observing the people. Children practiced sword-like movements with sticks, inspired by stories of heroes. Merchants argued passionately about tactics in old wars. Even in simple moments, Kyle saw human creativity and resilience. He understood why his people had survived countless challenges across the stars. They adapted, improvised, and found solutions in impossible situations. He returned to his workshop, determined. "I will not just fight," Kale said quietly to Eva. "I will show them what humans can do." EVA's sensors blinked. "Your confidence level is high. Calculations indicate a 59% chance of victory if your strategies are executed perfectly." Kyle chuckled. "Then we better execute them perfectly." Days passed. Kale's body ached from training, but his mind was sharper than ever. He knew that tomorrow's duel would not just test his skills, it would test his creativity, patience, and courage. He worked late into the night, testing weapons, rehearsing maneuvers, and refining his armor. Every small detail mattered. Every second could make the difference between victory and defeat. Finally, the night before the duel arrived. Kale stood at the edge of the city, looking at the palace glowing under the twin moons. He thought about what awaited him. The arena, the crowd, the legendary general who would stand across from him. Fear was natural, but Kale felt something stronger. Determination. He was ready. He returned to his workshop one last time, checking everything for the final time. Nira smiled at him. "Remember, Kale, strength matters, but cleverness matters more. The general will not expect what you're planning." Kale nodded. "I know. Humans have always survived by thinking differently. That will be my advantage. As he lay down to rest, Kyle reflected on the journey that had brought him here. He was not born a noble, nor gifted with extraordinary strength, but he had the mind to see possibilities where others saw limits. He had the courage to face the impossible. And he had the belief that humans, no matter how small or underestimated, could rise to greatness when it mattered most. Tomorrow, the city of Arathis would watch. Tomorrow, the duel would begin. And tomorrow, Kale would show that humans were never to be underestimated. For Kale, preparation was more than training. It was a statement. Humans could think, adapt, and overcome challenges stronger than themselves. And that belief, more than anything, gave him the edge he would need. The night was quiet. The stars shone over the city. And Kale, fully prepared, in mind and body, closed his eyes, ready to face the challenge that would define him, and perhaps the reputation of all humans in the galaxy. The arena was packed. Citizens, nobles, and aliens from neighboring systems filled the stands. The air was tense, thick with anticipation. Holographic banners floated above, projecting the royal insignia, while the floor of the arena gleamed under bright lights. Today was the day everyone had been talking about. The duel between Kyle, the human outsider, and General Varek, the legendary Royal Guard commander. Kale walked into the arena, his armor gleaming under the lights. He carried no extra weapons beyond his modified energy blade. His calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the whispers of the crowd. Some eyes were filled with doubt, others curiosity, and a few admiration. Humans were not usually seen as capable of defeating someone like Varek, but Kale was about to challenge that belief. Varek entered next, his presence commanding silence. The general's golden eyes scanned Kyle, sizing him up. Muscles tense and armor polished, he exuded confidence. He was faster, stronger, and had never lost a duel. To him, Kyle was nothing more than a human who thought too highly of himself. The royal herald stepped forward. Today we witness a duel of skill, courage, and honor. May the best warrior prevail. Both warriors bowed in respect, then stepped back, ready for the duel to begin. The tension was almost unbearable. Varek moved first. His attack was a powerful forward strike, meant to test Kale's reflexes and intimidate him. Kale barely dodged, feeling the wind from the strike whip past his face. The crowd gasped. Many had assumed Varek would overpower him instantly. But Kale moved with precision, sidestepping, circling, and keeping his distance. He studied Varek carefully. The general relied heavily on strength and direct attacks. Kale knew that meeting Varek with sheer force would be fatal. Instead, he relied on speed, agility, and calculated moves. Every step was deliberate, every motion planned, yet flexible. Varek roared in frustration. "You are slow," he shouted. "Come forward and fight like a warrior." Kale smiled faintly. "Strength alone does not make a warrior," he said, keeping his voice calm and measured. The duel continued. Varek swung with powerful strikes, testing Kale's defense. Kale ducked, rolled, and used the arena's structure to his advantage. Platforms, walls, and even the arena's energy panels became part of his strategy. The crowd watched in awe as Kale moved unpredictably, turning what seemed like weakness into strength. After a few minutes, Varek landed a glancing blow, forcing Kale to stumble backward. The crowd gasped, but Kale quickly regained his balance. He had expected this. Varek's attacks were strong but predictable. Kale waited for the perfect moment, calculating the general's movements and looking for an opening. Suddenly, Kale made a feint. He stepped as if he would strike to the left, then pivoted sharply to the right, dodging a heavy blow from Varek and slashing at his exposed side. The general barely blocked in time, his eyes widening in surprise. The crowd erupted. Humans rarely displayed such clever tactics in the arena. Varek's anger was clear. He had never been challenged like this. Each time he swung with force, Kyle responded with clever maneuvers, always staying one step ahead. The duel had become a test not just of strength, but of intelligence and adaptability. Kale's mind raced. He observed Varek's breathing, stance, and slight tics. He noticed that the general tended to overcommit when frustrated. Kale used this knowledge, baiting Varek into moves that left him vulnerable. With every dodge, parry, and counter, Kale gained small advantages. The audience was on edge. Aliens and humans alike leaned forward, mesmerized. Whispers of admiration spread. "The human is clever. Look how he moves," one spectator murmured. Varek growled, swinging faster and harder, trying to end the duel quickly. But Kale anticipated these attacks, shifting his weight, using momentum, and staying unpredictable. He moved like water, flowing, flexible, impossible to trap. At one point, Kale used a part of the arena platform to his advantage. A raised edge allowed him to spring higher than expected, dodging a sweeping strike and landing a quick counter. The general staggered, taken aback. This was not a human to be crushed by brute force. This was a human who could think faster, react smarter, and adapt instantly. Varek's pride refused to let him yield. He attacked with renewed fury, stronger and faster. Kale responded, keeping his distance but staying alert. Every moment was a balance of speed, strategy, and precision. The duel had evolved into a chess match at high speed with lives on the line and the crowd holding its breath with every move. Kale realized something crucial. The duel was not just about winning. It was about proving that humans could challenge even the strongest beings in the galaxy with intelligence, creativity, and courage. Each maneuver was a statement. Humans could rise above their limitations. Varek lunged with a powerful overhead strike, aiming to end the fight. Kale sidestepped, using the general's momentum against him. With a quick pivot, Kale deflected Varek's blade and placed himself behind the general. The crowd erupted again, amazed at the human's ingenuity. Varek spun, recovering quickly, but Kyle's eyes shone with confidence. He knew he could not win with force alone, but the duel had already achieved something significant. The audience had begun to see humans differently. Respect was replacing doubt. The duel slowed slightly as both warriors assessed each other. Sweat dripped, armor scuffed, but determination burned bright in both their eyes. Kale's strategy was working. He had turned Varek's strength against him, using speed, intelligence, and unpredictability. The Royal Guard commander, legendary as he was, had never faced such a mind in battle. Kale's thoughts were focused, clear, and calm. He did not fear the general. He respected him, yes, but he understood the rules of engagement better than most. Victory would come not from brute strength, but from careful observation, clever strategy, and human adaptability. The crowd roared as the duel reached its midpoint. Spectators cheered for Kale, the clever human, while others clutched their seats, fearing what the next move might bring. The arena was alive with tension and excitement. Kyle took a deep breath, centering himself. He knew the real challenge was yet to come. Varek was formidable, skilled, and relentless. But Kale had one advantage, a mind that could think beyond the limits of strength. And in that, humans were often unbeatable. The duel had begun. The first part was complete, and Kale had already proven something important. Humans could fight, adapt, and survive, even against the most powerful warriors in the galaxy. The arena echoed with applause, cheers, and whispers. And Kale, standing in the center, ready for the next phase, smiled faintly. The game had only just begun. The arena was alive with energy. The crowd was no longer whispering doubts. Now, they were leaning forward in awe. Kale's clever maneuvers had forced even General Varek to hesitate, something few had ever witnessed. The duel had transformed. From a simple contest of strength into a battle of intelligence, patience, and adaptability. Varek's golden eyes burned with intensity. He had never faced an opponent like Kale. Each time he tried to overpower the human, Kale anticipated the move, dodged, or used the arena to his advantage. The general's pride was wounded, and frustration clouded his judgment. He attacked faster, stronger, but with less thought. That was exactly what Kale had been waiting for. Kale's mind raced. Every flicker of movement, every pattern in Varek's strikes, he analyzed. Humans excelled at adaptation. They observed, learned, and changed quickly. Kale had trained for this. He wasn't just fighting the general's strength, he was fighting his predictability. Using a raised platform near the center of the arena, Kale jumped lightly, landing behind Varek and forcing the general to pivot quickly. The move surprised Varek, causing him to overextend. Kale's energy blade hummed as he aimed a precise, non-lethal strike, tapping Varek's side armor. The general staggered slightly, blinking in surprise. The crowd gasped. They had never seen such skill in a human. Aliens, nobles, and even the royal court leaned forward, astonished. Kale's tactics were not just clever, they were revolutionary for someone of his species. Varek roared, his pride boiling. "You dare challenge me with tricks?" he shouted, swinging his blade in a furious arc. Kale sidestepped, ducked, and rolled, letting the general's energy strike pass harmlessly overhead. With a quick spin, Kale knocked Varek's blade aside, forcing the general to take a defensive stance. Kale's friends watched from the sidelines. Neera's eyes were wide with amazement. "He's doing it," she whispered. "Kale is actually controlling the fight." Axel nodded, impressed. "The human mind. It's incredible. Kale isn't stronger, but he's faster in thought. That's what's making the difference." Kyle didn't celebrate. He stayed calm, focusing on the next move. He knew Varek's arrogance could be used against him. The general believed that victory came from raw strength, so Kyle set a subtle trap. He feinted a strike to the left, then shifted his weight, rolling toward the right. Varek lunged, expecting Kale to commit. Instead, Kale used Varek's momentum to pivot behind him, pushing him slightly off balance. The general stumbled, but quickly recovered, eyes narrowing with new respect. Kale smiled faintly. He had proven one thing: humans were not to be underestimated. Cleverness and adaptability could rival raw power. Varek attacked again, this time more cautiously. He adjusted his movements, trying to counter Kale's unpredictability. But Kale had prepared for every contingency. He anticipated the general's defensive strikes and responded with swift, calculated counters, using the arena itself as an advantage. A holographic barrier on the arena floor sparked under Kale's feet, and he used it to vault into the air, landing lightly behind Varek. The general's eyes widened, and for the first time, he hesitated. The audience erupted in cheers. The human had not just survived. He had forced the strongest warrior in the city to react to him. Kale noticed a pattern. Varek's attacks became slightly slower when frustrated, and his defense opened briefly when he overexerted himself. Kale used this knowledge, baiting the general into moves that left him vulnerable. Every maneuver was precise, intentional, and effective. The crowd was captivated. Humans had always been clever, but seeing it in action against someone as powerful as Varek was extraordinary. Shouts of encouragement mixed with gasps of disbelief. Even some aliens, known for their disdain of humans, were watching silently, intrigued by Kyle's ingenuity. Kale's mind remained focused. He knew this duel was not just a test of skill, it was a test of heart, courage, and intelligence. The general's strength was formidable, but Kale's adaptability, creativity, and patience gave him an edge no brute force could match. Sweat ran down both warriors' faces, armor scuffed and weapons humming. The duel had reached a critical point. Varek's confidence was shaken, and Kale's calculated strikes were forcing the general into defensive positions. Kale spoke quietly, almost to himself. Humans survive because we think, adapt, and never give up. Strength alone cannot win, a battle that requires mind and heart. Varek swung again, more carefully this time, but Kyle anticipated the move. He sidestepped, redirected the energy strike, and pressed forward with a precise counterattack. The general stumbled slightly, surprised at the human's skill. This was not brute strength. It was human ingenuity at its finest. The duel had shifted. The advantage was no longer entirely Varek's. Kale's strategy, observation, and adaptability had begun to dictate the pace. He controlled the flow, baited attacks, and exploited weaknesses, all while avoiding unnecessary harm. The royal court watched closely, whispers of admiration replacing earlier doubt. The king leaned forward, intrigued. "Perhaps humans are more capable than we thought," he murmured. Kale's eyes never left Varek's. He was aware of the danger, the crowd, and the stakes. But he also understood something profound. Humans thrived when underestimated. They saw possibilities where others saw limits. And in this moment, that ability gave him the upper hand. The general growled, swinging with renewed focus. But Kale was ready. With a quick feint, sidestep, and controlled strike, he disarmed Varek briefly, forcing the legendary warrior to retreat just enough to acknowledge the human's skill. The crowd erupted into cheers. Humans were not only surviving, they were dominating intellectually. Kale's calm, clever, and adaptive approach had turned the duel into a spectacle of human ingenuity. Kale took a deep breath, centering himself. The turning point had been reached. The duel was no longer about who was stronger. It was about who could think, adapt, and anticipate the other. And humans, Kale knew, excelled in exactly that. As the dust of the arena settled slightly, Kale smiled faintly. The duel was far from over, but the stage had been set. Humans could rise above expectations, even against the mightiest warriors, and Kale intended to prove it to everyone watching. The next phase of the duel would be the true test. Strategy versus strength, mind versus muscle, courage versus pride. But for now, Kale had achieved the turning point. He had shown that humans were clever, resourceful, and worthy of respect, even in a galaxy dominated by stronger beings. The arena erupted in cheers once more. Kale's eyes met Varek's, and for the first time he saw not just anger, but respect. The duel had changed. And the battle for human recognition had truly begun. The sun hung low over Arathis, casting long shadows across the arena. The crowd was still buzzing from the incredible turns of the duel. Kale and General Varek faced each other, breathing heavily, armor scuffed and weapons humming. Sweat and determination streaked their faces. This was the moment where skill, courage, and intelligence would be tested to their limits. Varek's pride was wounded. He had never been challenged like this before. His attacks had been clever, precise, and relentless. But he was not defeated, yet. He adjusted his stance, muscles tense, eyes blazing gold. "Enough games, human," he growled. "This ends now." Kale smiled faintly, calm and ready. He knew brute force would not win him this duel, but his mind, quick thinking, and adaptability were advantages no one had truly appreciated. Humans survived in impossible situations because they could think differently, and that would be his key. The duel resumed. Varek attacked with ferocity, swinging heavy strikes that could crush stone. Kyle dodged, rolled, and used the arena's platforms to stay unpredictable. Each movement was calculated, each feint a test of the general's reactions. Kale's strategy was simple but powerful. Control the pace, force mistakes, and exploit opportunities. Varek struck hard, aiming to break Kale's defense, but Kale anticipated the move. He sidestepped and redirected the energy strike, using the general's momentum against him. Varek stumbled, surprise flickering across his face. The crowd erupted. Humans rarely fought with such precision and intelligence. Kale had turned the duel into a battle of wit, not just strength. Kale pressed forward carefully, striking when Varek left openings. Each move was designed to test the general's focus. Varek's attacks became slower as frustration built, leaving gaps Kale could exploit. Every tap, every counter, showed the audience that humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of thinking ahead in ways stronger opponents could not. The crowd gasped as Kale executed a series of rapid, unpredictable movements. He dodged a strike, vaulted off a raised platform, spun, and tapped Varek's side armor. The general staggered but recovered quickly. Kale had not overextended. He had used the moment to show that humans could fight with intelligence and restraint. Varek's pride refused to allow defeat. He lunged with a series of attacks, faster and more furious than before. But Kale stayed calm. He analyzed every motion, every muscle twitch, every shift of balance. Humans excelled at adapting in the moment, and Kyle did exactly that. He avoided unnecessary conflict, using careful strikes and clever feints to maintain control of the duel. The arena seemed to hold its breath. Even aliens known for their superiority leaned forward, impressed by the humans' skill. Kyle's performance was more than a fight. It was a demonstration of human ingenuity and adaptability. Kyle noticed an opportunity. Varek had been overextending in his attacks, leaving a slight opening in his guard after each strike. Kyle's energy blade hummed as he prepared to take advantage of it. With a sudden feint to the left, he shifted his weight, rolled forward, and tapped Varek's side armor again, more decisively this time. Varek stumbled, caught off guard. The audience erupted into cheers. Humans had survived the impossible. They had not only matched the Royal Guard commander, they had forced him to respect their skill. Kyle had used patience, observation, and intelligence to turn the duel in his favor. Varek's breathing was heavy, his pride wounded, but his respect for Kyle was growing. He realized that strength alone was not enough. Humans, he thought, were underestimated for too long. Their intelligence, adaptability, and creativity could rival the mightiest warriors. Kale did not strike to harm, only to demonstrate control. He had learned long ago that true strength lay in restraint and strategy, not in mindless power. This duel was as much about proving human capability as it was about victory. The final stage of the duel approached. Both warriors were wary, calculating, each move carefully. Varek swung with great force, but Kale anticipated and redirected the strike. He moved with grace, speed, and intelligence, using the arena's features to maintain his advantage. Kale's mind was clear, focused on the moment. He knew that the duel could end with a single mistake. Yet, he remained calm. Humans excelled under pressure because they could adapt, think, and act decisively. Kyle embodied that principle. Finally, Kyle saw the perfect moment. Varek lunged with a powerful strike, overcommitting as frustration clouded his judgment. Kale sidestepped, using the general's momentum against him. In a swift motion, he tapped Varek's armor to signal control, not harm. The general faltered, realizing that he had been outmaneuvered not by strength, but by intelligence. The crowd erupted, cheering for the human who had dared to challenge the Royal Guard commander. Humans had shown that courage, creativity, and quick thinking could stand against superior strength. Kyle had proven that even when underestimated, humans could rise and earn respect. Varek's breathing was heavy, his eyes still blazing gold. Slowly, he lowered his weapon. "You have skill," he admitted, voice gruff but sincere. "Humans are more capable than I believed." Kyle nodded, offering a respectful bow. "Strength matters, but intelligence and adaptability are just as important," he replied. "Humans survive by thinking differently. That is our strength." The arena was filled with applause, cheers, and shouts of admiration. Aliens and humans alike acknowledged the humans' ingenuity. The duel had not only tested strength, it had tested the very essence of human capability. Varric extended a hand. Kyle took it, shaking firmly. Respect had been earned. Humans had risen above expectations, showing that courage, strategy, and creativity could overcome even the most formidable opponents. The crowd continued cheering, the royal court nodding in approval. Kale had not only survived, he had earned respect, demonstrated intelligence, and changed the way humans were seen in the galaxy. As Kale stepped back, he allowed himself a faint smile. The duel was nearly over, but its impact would be remembered, long after the arena emptied. Humans had proven that they were clever, adaptable, and capable of rising to any challenge, no matter the odds. The sun dipped lower, casting golden light across the arena. Kale's mind was already thinking ahead. The duel had been won, but the journey of human recognition had only just begun. Today, he had shown courage and intelligence. Tomorrow, humans would continue to prove their worth across the galaxy. The arena was alive with applause, the cheers echoing high above the city of Arathis. Kyle stood in the center, armor scuffed, energy blade humming faintly at his side, and a calm expression on his face. Across from him, General Varric adjusted his stance, breathing heavily. The duel had reached its final stage, and now the moment of true recognition was at hand. Varric's golden eyes studied Kyle with a mixture of respect and disbelief. He had faced countless warriors in his life, yet none had challenged him like this. The human had survived his attacks, anticipated his moves, and demonstrated intelligence that surpassed expectations. Varric realized something profound. Humans, underestimated for so long, were capable of far more than anyone had imagined. Kyle, calm and focused, knew that victory would not come from brute strength. The general's pride was his greatest weakness. If Kale could demonstrate control, strategy, and intelligence, he could force respect without unnecessary harm. This was the essence of human ingenuity. The duel resumed. Varric attacked with one final powerful strike, attempting to end the fight. Kale anticipated it. He sidestepped, used Varric's momentum, and maneuvered behind him. In a swift, precise motion, Kale tapped the general's armor lightly, signaling control, not aggression. The crowd erupted. Humans had faced the royal guard. Commander and not only survived, they had gained the upper hand through intelligence, patience, and clever strategy. Cheering filled the arena, drowning out all other sound. Even the royal court leaned forward, astonished by the display. Varric spun, facing Kale directly. His breathing was heavy, armor scratched, but there was something new in his eyes. Respect. "You have proven yourself," he said, voice firm but sincere. "Humans are stronger than I believed, not in muscle, but in mind and heart. You have earned my respect." Kale bowed respectfully. "Strength is not only in the body," he replied. "It is in courage, adaptability, and intelligence. Humans survive because we see possibilities where others see limits. That is our strength." The audience rose in unified applause. Humans had been underestimated for generations, yet here, in the heart of the galaxy, one human had shown that cleverness, strategy, and determination could overcome even the mightiest opponents. The message was clear. Humans were not weak. They were capable, resilient, and inventive. Varric extended his hand. Kyle took it without hesitation. The gesture symbolized not only respect, but acknowledgement of what humans could achieve. The royal guard commander, legendary and formidable, had recognized the value of intelligence and adaptability over brute force. The royal herald stepped forward. "Let it be known," he announced, "that Kale, human challenger, has earned the respect of the royal guard commander and the honor of the palace." Humans have shown courage, intelligence, and ingenuity today, proving that they can rise to greatness in any challenge. The crowd erupted again, cheering louder than ever. Humans, aliens, nobles, and commoners alike acknowledged Kale's achievement. The city of Arathis had witnessed something extraordinary. A human had faced the strongest warrior in the kingdom and demonstrated the true power of the human mind and spirit. Kale lowered his energy blade, his movements calm and measured. He had achieved what he set out to do, prove that humans were clever, resourceful, and deserving of respect. But he also understood that this victory was not only personal, it was a message for all humans. Courage, intelligence, and adaptability could change perceptions, even across the galaxy. Varric nodded, now fully composed. Today, you have reminded me, and all who witness this, that humans cannot be underestimated, he said. Strength is more than muscle. It is thinking, adapting, and never giving up. Kale smiled faintly. And humans will continue to rise whenever challenges appear. We learn, adapt, and endure. That is how we survive and thrive. The royal family rose from their seats, clapping with genuine admiration. Even the king, seated on his crystal throne, gave Kale a nod of approval. This duel will be remembered for generations, he said. Humans have shown their true worth today. Let this be a turning point in how our galaxy sees them. The crowd's applause continued, reverberating through the arena. Children cheered, inspired by Kale's courage. Aliens exchanged surprised glances, reassessing their view of humans. The city of Arathis, the galaxy's elite, had witnessed a human prove that strength was not just in muscle, but in mind, heart, and courage. Kale felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. The duel had been dangerous, yes, but it had also been transformative. Humans had shown they could survive, adapt, and triumph against even the most powerful opponents. And in that triumph, respect had been earned, not through intimidation or force, but through intelligence, patience, and ingenuity. Varric lowered his weapon completely and bowed slightly. You have taught me something valuable today, Kyle, he said. Humans have skill, heart, and the courage to rise above expectations. I will ensure that the kingdom recognizes this. Kale returned the bow, acknowledging both the respect and the lessons learned. Thank you, General, he said. Strength is important, but humanity is about using our minds, our courage, and our creativity to face the impossible. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light across the arena. Kyle stood tall, breathing steadily as the crowd continued to cheer. His message was clear. Humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of greatness beyond what others might expect. The duel was over. Kale had proven himself, but more importantly, he had proven the value of humans to the galaxy. Intelligence, strategy, courage, and adaptability were as powerful as any weapon, as formidable as any warrior. As Kale left the arena, accompanied by Nira and Axel, the city buzzed with excitement. Stories of his duel would spread, inspiring humans and aliens alike. The reputation of humanity would shift from underestimation to respect, and Kale had played a vital role in that transformation. For Kale, the duel was not just about victory. It was about demonstrating that humans could rise to greatness through cleverness, courage, and resilience. Today, he had shown the galaxy that humans were never to be underestimated. And as the stars began to twinkle above Arathis, Kale looked toward the future, confident that this was only the beginning. Humans would continue to face challenges, adapt, and succeed. And the galaxy would remember that day, when a human accepted a duel against the Royal Guard commander and changed the way everyone saw his species forever.